Clueless in the pause, whether you're peri, meno, or post. I'm here every week to talk all things menopause, the things we're all thinking but not talking about. Trust me, someone is feeling exactly how you are. I'm Thom, a women's life coach, and at 45, feeling perimenopausal. Each week, I'll be joined by an expert in their field, and we'll delve into pressing topics like, why do I hate my husband 3 days every month? Why do I feel my internal thermometer has bobbed off to the Caribbean? Why do I need strength training in my life? And why do my periods flood, ruining my best jeans? We'll dive into the symptoms, why we experience them, and provide friendly tips to help. Get in touch, let us know how you're feeling, and send us your questions. We'll be answering them throughout the series. In this week's episode, I'm super excited to be speaking to Emma Browning, who's the owner of Meraki HR. We're going to be talking all things HR related to menopause and how you can talk to your employers. Emma is a highly qualified and experienced HR director with a strong and proven pedigree in delivering results to the bottom line fast. She continues to work with clients directly and particularly likes to work with growing businesses to help them develop the right people strategy that will enable their growth, and works with business leaders, people managers who want to improve their leadership skills. Emma's also an engaging trainer and facilitator who will create and deliver workshops on a wide range of people management topics such as recruitment, coaching skills for the manager, how to have difficult conversations, as well as how to conduct an effective appraisal. Emma is a fellow of the CIPD and has a postgraduate and master's degree. Emma recently won Woman Who Micro Business Award in 2019 and was a finalist in 2 categories for the 2019 B4 Business Awards, 50 People to Watch in Oxfordshire and 50 Businesses to Watch in the Innovation category. So let's dive in and see what Emma has to tell us. Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Clueless in the Pause. I just want to give a little intro that our sound this week is not what we have come to know. It's a little bit tinny. Matt has done his very absolute best and has improved it loads, but it is still a bit tinny. But I thought it was worth putting the episode out because what Emma has to say is really interesting. And I think there's a lot of tips and information there about how we can talk to our employers in the workplace. So I hope you can bear with us.
Oh, Emma, thank you so much for joining us today. I am really excited to talk about employment around menopause because it just feels like there is not really lots of information, and a lot of people I speak to just don't know anything basically about what's going on within their workplace, is there any support, etc. So I'm really excited to talk about employment. But before we dive all into all of that, do you want to just give us a little intro about yourself and your experience?
Yeah, cool. So my name's Emma Browning, and I'm the founder and managing director of a company called Meraki HR. We've got 2 offices, one based in Quendel, so we're in Meraki HR North, and one both in Oxfordshire and then Meraki HR South. So a bit about my experience. Career of 2 halves, really. First half spent in sales and operations within the recruitment industry. And then the latter half of my career, which is the last 24 years, which makes me feel very old, have been spent in HR, mostly and female. I don't mind telling you that I'm 56. I was diagnosed as postmenopausal at the age of 47 because I was going to have a hysterectomy at the age of 47 for medical reasons. They wanted to know whether I was pre or postmenopausal because of the impact treatment after your hysterectomy. And it all suddenly came together for me at that point because I'd been experiencing a huge number of symptoms, primarily, would you want to call it brain fog, anxiety, which I'd never had before, and I did not sleep. I really did not sleep at all. So they were my key symptoms. I genuinely thought I was in dementia or Alzheimer's. I had a very senior job at that point working at Harley Davidson as HR director for Europe, Middle East and South Africa. And I just thought I was losing the plot. So when I was told I was postmenopausal, it all of a sudden made sense. All of these symptoms I'd been experiencing that I had been deeply about as well, and I'd been told that I was just tired, yeah, it all kind of fitted together. So that would be a little bit about my background. But I just wanted to say that I am postmenopausal for, I think I probably went through it probably about 3 years prior to that, or quite early.
Wow, that must have been so terrifying though, to be experiencing things in symptoms and just not knowing and not,
What it was.
Yeah.
I would have a chat with somebody and I'd be talking to them and I just suddenly didn't remember their name.
Yeah.
And just really, it was silly, simple thing.
Yeah.
But when it's happening all the time, you start to think you're kind of losing your mind. What's wrong?
I think
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. Brain fog and forgetfulness is the biggest things that being perimenopausal, I'm 45. I keep saying I'm 44, I'm not. I'm 45, nearly 46. But that the brain fog and forgetfulness are the biggest issues that I am facing. Same thing, I'm talking and then I just go, my mind just goes blank and I'm like, oh dear God, these people are going to think I am absolutely ridiculous because literally just stop like that. And I'm like, oh. And so now I've just started saying to people, I'm really sorry, having a brain fog moment, bear with me, or can you remind, what was I just saying? And then I can pick up the thread again. But I've had to get over it and sort of say no and actually name it and say, this is what's happening, I'm sorry. And then we can pick up and like start and run again. But it's just, and it's I think it's for me it's that's given me more confidence actually calling it out to name it than just ignoring it, because then other people, as soon as I say that, other people either say something like, oh God, oh me too, yeah, me too, or like, oh right, it's okay, don't worry, it's fine, whatever. And so it makes me realize actually just those simple words is like, oh God, what was I just saying, or something else, it really changes it. And actually what you said about the anxiousness, I think I also have never really experienced this until a few months ago. And it stayed with me for days afterwards. And I could feel it still in my body, like this anxiety that just didn't belong there. It was really, really strange.
And if that's not been your, and I'm not sort of making light of anxiety at all, but you've been a fairly carefree, light person who doesn't worry, and all of a sudden you're worrying all the time, or you're struggling to make decisions that previously were easy to make, that's a significant shock. For you as a person, if you don't recognize the person that you are becoming or being anymore.
No, absolutely. And I think as well, like, now I kind of have it on my mind that, oh, okay, I'm having these symptoms. It's not me. It's because of a process. There's something that I'm going through. But so in your situation, you didn't know. And so you actually start questioning, is there something wrong with me? Because you weren't, and you didn't get the support that you needed from your doctors in that way.
And if I think about it, I probably had those symptoms for a good 5 years. I think I was roughly 42 when things started happening. If you think that 14, 15 years ago, people were not talking about it before. My mum, growing up as a young girl, right? Hopefully we're in a family situation, or we've got somebody who talks us about what happens when you suffer periods, and so somebody tells you that, whether it's your mum or a parent or somebody at school. Nobody tells you about the menopause. My mum didn't have that part with me. That did not happen. So I think I saw 42 and nobody was talking about it at that point. So I'm so glad now that things are being talked about.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, I agree. And it's funny, like I asked my mum when I sort of started feeling symptoms, like, what happened to you? And did you go through menopause? And so she's like, I don't know. And then she just went, oh, I think I was your age. I was like, okay, thanks for the heads up.
Heads up, yeah.
But I said, but when did your period stop? And she was saying, no, that was much later. And I said, well, now, I said, it's defined in a different way. So actually you went technically in menopause, you were in perimenopause, but And it was really strange because she didn't understand that. And she was like, well, anyways, it kind of went on. But yeah, it's interesting how much things have changed. And I think a lot of the recommendations now are like, oh, talk to your mum, how did they go through it? Likely you would have the same. But I think, say for me, I haven't had children. So my mum had children. Our lifestyles have been completely different. And I don't know. Obviously, I am no medical expert, but I don't know that we will have a similar trajectory, or I will in that way. So, but yeah, as you say, I think it's good that we are now starting to talk about it a lot more and just open up the conversation and be so more people can be aware that if they do start feeling symptoms that are not usual for themselves, they can start to think, oh, what is that? Where does that come from? But as we're going to talk about some employment then, because that's where your area of expertise is. And I think when I first started looking into this, one of the most shocking statistics that I was looking at of women leaving the workforce, they were saying about around 10% of women don't feel supported to be able to continue in the workplace. And this was from a government legislation, not legislation, a government oh my God, I can't see, brain, even get more. Oh my gosh, simple words. It was from a government survey that was done in 2019, and they were saying, yeah, it was around 10%, and they thought that, time undefined, 900,000 women had left their jobs because of this.
Oh.
How do you think that impacts business and women in general?
Yeah, well, bear in mind that was 2019.
Yes.
Definitely the figures are a lot higher now.
Yes.
Just because I think people will be more open to talking about it. But how does that impact, we know that women make up half the population, possibly half the population. You're essentially losing half your workforce, depending on what kind of industry you're in. Some are obviously more equally balanced industry. Some are more male-dominated, some are more female-dominated. But the way I look at it is, absolutely, as people get older in their career, they've generally got more knowledge and experience of whatever area they work in. Why would you want to be losing your most experienced worker or workers, plural? So for me, it is about creating awareness of the pause. And we run sort of training sessions for lots of my clients who are a bit more forward thinking. Not everyone is, but about raising awareness about it, because people sit in that room with us, and we do try and make it we don't try and make it fluffy. We're not wanting to speak to people, but people are genuinely shocked when they hear about some of the symptoms, how long it can go on for. But they all walk away going, wow, I had no idea about this. Really didn't understand it. So that's one part of it. It's about raising awareness, then creating a culture or an environment where people feel that they can stand up or talk to someone. I've got to be honest and say a lot of people in the HR field talk about having menopause champions at work.
Yeah, I heard that.
And I'm kind of a bit nipped about this because I know, even though once I was aware that I would take menopausal, would I have wanted to shout it from the rooftops and told everybody at work I was going through the menopause or I was menopausal? Absolutely not. I wouldn't. I think it's just that there's this awareness that for me, I'm quite a private person, so I certainly wouldn't want to be wearing a C-shirt telling everybody or
I'm in menopause.
yeah, I'm in the menopause or going and weeping for a menopause champion. But I want to know that I could have a confidential chat with somebody. Everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're creating a culture that says, we've given our managers, whether they're male or female, menopause awareness training, so please feel that you can talk in confidence to them about the symptoms that you're going through, and we will try and support you through that. Or we've got somebody who's in menopause, who's our menopause champion, and you can put them as you want to. I just think everybody's different, and to me, you've got to create an environment that allows people to be supported with their menopause in a way that works for them.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a one size fits all approach. I think giving people options, talk about it, feel that they can be supported, I think is important. But equally, obviously, the big part that changed is the legislation.
Yeah.
So the case was brought by a lady called Rooney, up her name, obviously not up her name.
Yeah.
So since the Rooney case, as it's referred to, menopause is now classed as a disability.
Mm-hmm.
So if people aren't supporting somebody with their menopause or their menopausal symptoms, and they start treating their perhaps the dropping performance at work, because we do change
Yeah.
to get older, and that's both men and women.
Yes, absolutely.
Whether it's our mental capacity or whether it's our physical capacity, we all change as we get older.
Mm.
But with menopause now, it has been classed as a disability because of the Rooney case. So if you are discriminating against a woman because of her menopausal symptoms from the performance perspective, then you could have an employment tribunal claim for disability.
Yeah.
But of course, it also only applies to women. It will apply to transgender women as well, but it applies to women. So you've got a stop discrimination element as well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's in the employer's self-interest to try and support women through this and keep their workforce. And maybe it's about adopting workload for a period of time. Maybe it's about adjusting hours for a period of time. And it's about having a flexible approach. And I really do understand that employers, you know, I'm an employer as well. I've got a team of women who work for me. That's not intentional, but they just all happen to be women. Lots of women are in HR. But, you know, it's about being flexible. I'm flexible with my team because they've all got children.
Yeah.
But it means I've got great people on my team.
Yeah.
So,
and I guess like there's so many things to unpack in that, isn't there? Like first, I mean, you're absolutely right. Every woman's menopause is completely different. Like my menopause, my friends, whoever yours, everybody is going through completely unique circumstances. And like you say, there's no one size fits all. So it absolutely has to be for however anybody wants to be able to approach this from themselves in that way. But what do you think about the point of the menopause being added as a disability? I think for me, that just seems really bizarre. It's like this is a natural process that women go through. You know, we go through puberty, our hormones change, we have education around that, so to speak. We move into our reproductive phase. If you are pregnant and you go back to work, you have a workplace assessment to be able to return to work after maternity. And now, as we go into our third phase of life, we're classed as a disability for a natural process that we cannot control.
it's really weird because the way the law defines a disability is that it is something that impacts your day-to-day life.
Right.
So it's a different medical definition to it being a legal definition. And I think that's the difference. So for legal purposes or employment purposes, disability is part but as something that impacts your day-to-day life. And if we're on it, you know, and pregnancy is also under that law.
Yeah.
That legal definition. Pregnancy is also classed as a disability.
Oh, really? Oh, right. I didn't see that. My gosh.
Yeah. So, well, it's one of the nine protected characteristics in employment law.
Wow.
Pregnancy is classed as a protected characteristic. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It's not disability, it's characteristic. Or people are clearly discriminated against, unsigned by employers because they're pregnant.
Yeah.
So they need that protection. Disability is one of those 9 protected characteristics as well.
Yeah.
And the definition of that disability is that, you know, it impacts your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And menopause does impact people's day-to-day life.
Yeah, I saw something and they were saying that this was an estimate, which is probably conservative somehow, but that an average maybe 14 million working days a year are lost due to menopause symptoms and time off. So I think, as you also were saying, I guess at this point, women are potentially in more management roles. They've got a lot of experience to give within their workplaces, and this is a time then that they're then dropping out. But obviously, for companies, also there is the point of menopause can go on for 10 to 15 years somehow. For some cases, some women may never experience any symptoms, but where do you think there's a balance there for that point of being able to be flexible, because it is over the long term, isn't it? Like, how can that work?
Yeah, and I think this is the difficult bit for businesses, because I do understand that in some businesses it may not be possible to give the flexibility that's required. And again, it goes back to that every woman is different. But for me, it's about trying to understand what would make a difference for that person.
Yeah.
What should you do that would enable them to continue working? Because I very, very much doubt that people who've left their job want to continue.
Yeah.
So is there a halfway house? Is there some way that, it can be accommodated? I also understand that if the stuff may not be possible, and I think this is where the law is interesting, because it always talks about whether what you've done as a business is reasonable or fair. Yeah. The two words are very open to interpretation or misinterpretation. So, as long as a business can demonstrate that what it's done is reasonable and fair, but like you say, he's through menopause for the last 10, 15 years. So, it may not be possible commercially. It may not be viable for a business to do or make those changes for a prolonged period of time. And this is where it then becomes really difficult, because I'm a big believer in supporting people where you can, but also you have to be pragmatic, don't you, about it?
Yeah.
As a business owner, that just may not be possible. But the law is now on the side of the woman who is going through the menopause.
Yeah.
So as long as they can say, well, look, what we've done was reasonable and what we've done was fair, and we've tried for support, but we've now got to the point where we can't support. Be interesting to see what other chaos comes out. As because like with all things, you have a travel case with the room case, which has made it a disability.
Sure.
Or seen it as a disability, but of course there will be other cases that come out over the next 5 to 10 years, and the law may change and evolve around it as those decisions are made. So
yeah, that's a good point. And I guess that's why really talking more and being much more open about it enables people to feel more confident to be able to discuss and bring to light. And actually that brings me back to, brain fog. I wanted to ask you, after you were talking about the Rooney case, could you just give us a brief outline of what that was? I didn't know about that.
Oh, right. Okay, I had a feeling you might ask me about this. So, she was a social worker who suffered from menopausal symptoms, which for her was lately around absence.
Right.
And she also had extended periods of absence for her symptoms. So that's where the issue came from the employer perspective. Because of her level of absence, there lots of employers have a policy with what they call, trigger point.
Right.
I.e., if you've had 20 days off, you get a first written warning. If you've had 40 days off, you get a final written warning. So she was issued with a written warning, and this was despite the fact she had been informed her employer that she had menopausal symptoms. So her argument was that she was treated unfavourably because of her absences, and that inappropriate comments were made about her menopausal symptoms.
Right, okay.
And that led her to resign and bring an employment tribunal claim for discrimination, which was really around discrimination of a female.
Yeah.
Harassment and victimisation on the grounds of discrimination, but also disability. So obviously, Calista that she spoke with about her was saying, well, actually, I think falls under the legal definition of disability, because your menopausal symptoms are causing you to change your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
They both said when I started suffering with weight, stress and anxiety and menopausal symptoms, eating or healthy, I felt let down and I felt betrayed after working there for so long, and I felt they had no compassion on understanding and awareness of the menopause. Yeah.
Right.
So, actually, no, for my absence, he resigned. He also claimed what's known as constructive dismissal, because he felt he had no choice but to.
Right. And so that's kind of helped to spark the change in menopause being recognised as that, as a characteristic.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, not as a characteristic, as a disability.
Discrimination
Yeah.
and disability discrimination, because they're classing menopause as a disability under that legal definition.
Yeah. Oh, that still makes me laugh. And so the government last year have introduced this menopause champion, Helen, I don't remember her surname now, and they've published their 4-point plan. So how do you think that that's helping? And are there a lot of employers that are getting on board with this?
Honest answer?
Yeah.
I've heard not a single person ask me about it, ever.
Wow.
So, from an employment perspective,
Yeah.
we've had a look at it in the sense of a party comparison, and we try and incorporate those bits into our menopause awareness speak. I think people, generally speaking, are very unaware of it.
Right.
It's a short answer.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think actually when you were talking at the beginning about how you implement menopause awareness within your company, actually a lot of it is common sense, because I think the 4 points within that is about communication, about being able to raise awareness. Actually, a lot of it is just really common sense that it's things that you're already doing as a responsible employer that cares about their employees and how their working conditions are.
Yeah. I mean, the 4-point plan talked about, it's really about sharing best practices. So that's about, I think that's about HR professionals actually getting together and talking about what they're doing in their businesses, what's working, what they tried that people like, what people don't like. So sharing best practices is point one.
Yeah.
About an allyship program, which is where people have got someone to talk to within the business, which is what we've already said, isn't it? And feel people, so whether that's the manager or whether it's the menopause champions that we sort out within businesses. Sorts out menopause-friendly employers.
Yes.
That's about employers who actually advocate for menopausal women. And then they talk about having a communication plan. So that's just about improving the working life for women, groups of these that can't fit. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Yeah.
I know it makes sense, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, that, isn't it? Because not to name names somehow, but some different companies that I work with, or just speaking to friends, oh yeah, my company does something around menopause. And I was like, all right, okay, send it to me. So they send it, and I look at it, and I'm like, so what does that mean? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, it's just words. Like, there's actually no action within there. So
Happening in
what's happening in practice? It's almost like now, within the other work that I do in fashion, people talk about sustainability, and there's a lot of greenwashing that's on within the fashion industry about what they're doing for sustainability, etc. And it kind of felt that some of these menopause awareness that companies are running, it just feels like a tick box kind of like greenwashing exercise somehow, that, oh yeah, look, we do this, but actually you're not fundamentally doing anything. You're just sending out an email shot or, a printout of basically these points.
It's a bit like, and this does happen, it's a bit like us being asked for a menopause policy.
Right.
So we've got a standard policy which is okay. So it's not legal compliant, it's we're advocating in our business and the way we like to work with our clients is advocating best practice.
Yeah.
So we don't just send them the policy, because to me it's like, well, okay, why do you want the policy? Yeah. What are we going to do to raise awareness within the business of what menopause is? Do we need to do some training? How can we tailor this template that we have created to make it work for your business? So it isn't a paper going, oh yeah, well, we've got a policy.
Yeah.
Well, that's not really good enough.
No, because also it's like, what are the actual outcomes that you want to achieve? Do you want to, you assume somebody's asking this, but like, you want to support your employers to remain in their roles for longer? You want to create a more flexible working life? You want the open communication, or you're going to have like some breakout rooms where people could go. Like, what is your actual outcome for this? That it's not just like,
what do you want to achieve? Verbally.
Yeah.
It's not so go to your point, it's not just words on a piece of paper.
Yeah, it's like,
What are we actually doing about it?
Yeah, I think we need another word for this. It's like, instead of greenwashing, it's like menno washing or something. And it's like, just this.
Men washing.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it does feel like there's a lot of that's going on at the minute, that it's almost like that beginning point where people are starting to talk about it. There's not really any real sort of legislation or anything that's kind of in stone now. So it's almost like people are trying to do something or want to be seen to be doing something, but it's not actually being effective because it's so opaque and broad and vague that, like you were saying, the employment laws of reasonable and fairness, they're just such blasé words that are open to so much interpretation that anybody could adapt anything to it.
Oh.
Okay, so we'll leave that government plan for now then.
So, what do I think about it? Yeah, in short, I don't know that anybody's really taking a huge amount of notice, and do I think it's made any difference? Not really.
Right. Okay. I read their 12-month report, and actually, yeah, I was still struggling to remember all 4 of those points. So it's quite, yeah, okay. So actually thinking then more from an employee perspective, if any of our listeners are starting to realize that they're experiencing symptoms, or they already really know that they're in the throes of menopause and are feeling any of the symptoms and are thinking that they're struggling to stay within work, what kind of advice would you give to them about how they could talk to their employers if they don't have a recognised menopause awareness or something like that? What kind of things, what kind of HR could people use?
Yeah, and it's difficult because I can't advise people clearly medically, but from an employment point of view, I would say the first thing is they do talk, see somebody at work that you trust.
Yes.
Or either that. And if they have got an internal HR team, I really would advise them to go and talk to their internal HR, just to say, look, this is what I'm not quite sure how I can deal with this at work, and just see what support they get internally first of all. Obviously, medically it's a different matter, but from the employment, who can you talk to at work that you trust, and go and talk to HR team if you have one.
Yeah. And in that way then, obviously, some people might be feeling really anxious about approaching a HR. I think sometimes HR may be a little bit maligned in that it's not there for employees, it's just there for the companies, etc. So in that way, what are the obligations, I guess, that HR teams have to employees, even though they're employed by the employer?
Yeah, so we get asked a lot, you're on the side of the employer because they pay you. Well, employee, we're all employees.
Yeah.
And that's when you become a qualified HR professional, and there is a difference. What people work in HR, they're not qualified and they're not a member of the Institute of Personnel and Development. And we don't sign a Hippocratic oath, but we do sign up for a code of conduct.
Right.
So actually, we are supposed to work for employer and employee. So we're in the middle. We have to look at things from the employer's perspective because things, there's a business that have to be run, things are done commercially and it has to be financially viable. We also have a duty under our code of conduct to make sure we're doing things that are legally compliant. We have to act in the best interest of the employee and in the interest of the business.
Right.
That means we did not be doing anything that is not legally compliant.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to be really honest, of course, like every profession, there will be some people who are not qualified and not being code of conduct.
Sure.
So if you are nervous about speaking with your HR team because you don't think they are going to either treat the matter seriously or treat it incompetent, then, that's a difficult bit of who else you speak to then in that business. We're probably in a business where you probably don't feel that you can speak to anybody else either.
Yeah.
So it may be that you need to get legal advice from an employment lawyer, or it may be that you might have got a friend who's an HR who works outside of your business. Maybe you could ask for help.
Yeah.
There are lots of menopause support groups. They pay for a number of menopause for free.
Yes, that's true.
So it could be that you're speaking a guide from elsewhere and then perhaps go back to the business with, I don't know.
It's almost like having facts and information, not being knowledgeable. Yeah, exactly. That's the word.
It enables you back with well, look, I've been going for research of my own, and I was thinking, so, rather than talking about it as a problem, thinking about what things might help you as a solution that the business could do to support you, because then you're going with a more, constructive, discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're much more informed then, isn't it? Actually takes some of the emotion away from it, because actually what you're talking about then is fact-based evidence of this.
This is what some other employers are doing.
Yeah.
I think it would really help maybe if we could do this or do that. It's always easier, isn't it, to talk about what the problem is, offer some solutions or suggestions. So that's what I would be doing, is seeking that advice and knowledge maybe outside the business, but with the group, and then that's going back from ideas about people.
Yeah, and I guess within that way as well, just following on from that, whatever symptoms you're experiencing that are really causing you the issues, what would be your problem solver for those in terms of your way of working, and actually already having, so those solutions are tailored to the symptoms that you're actually experiencing. Have a proposal for those about what it is that would make your life, your working life, much easier in that way. Yeah, absolutely. And just one quick question on the code of conduct. I don't know why when you were talking then, I got this image of almost like that lawyer-client relationship where there is a duty of care and confidentiality. Is that the case still with it? Yeah. No.
No, it isn't. It isn't. So we don't have it's kind of an unwritten, it's whatever you the intent. The intent is always that it's confidential. I've experienced, so whenever somebody says something to me, they always say, "Can you keep this conversation confidential?" And it does depend on what that conversation is. Like, because let's just say, for argument's sake, somebody tells me that something that is really serious and it's about fraud going on in okay, I can't keep that confidential.
No, that's criminal.
Yeah, because it's criminal and we need to deal with it. So what I always say to people is, I will do my best to keep it confidential wherever I can.
Sure.
But if I'm not able to keep it confidential, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you where I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
What I can do is I can protect you. I don't need to pay where it comes from.
Right.
If that's possible.
Sure.
So it's really hard with confidentiality because in some instances you just can't.
Yeah.
Confidential. So for me, that's about your experience as an HR professional and how you manage that with that person. Like, if to me, it's about being honest. You can't be confidential and why.
Yeah, as long as I guess like you can explain that point, isn't it? Like about the reasons, etc. Okay. Right, brilliant. I know you've got to go shortly, Emma, so I will then maybe just ask one last question. So what are the what are the kind of top tips that you would give to listeners about just summarising everything up about how they can approach their employers in this way to talk about symptoms?
So I think for me, thinking about who that trusted friend is internally, it could be a colleague, it could be a manager, it could be a member of the HR team. So please don't suffer in silence.
Yeah.
But perhaps think about doing your own research, because you're listening at what things you think might help, so that you're going to them with some ideas or some solutions would be that thing. Advice I could give.
Yeah.
You know, employers are supportive, but I also understand that if their employers aren't supportive, then your next option would be to raise a grievance.
Yeah.
And I hate saying that because it's a horrible word. And if it feels like you're complaining, sometimes we need to complain to make change happen.
Yeah.
So hopefully you get supported, and if not, your route is to raise a grievance.
Yeah.
Acknowledge and deal with.
Okay, and then if anybody wanted to have a look online to give themselves a bit more of that knowledge, are there anywhere that you would recommend for people to be able to get more information?
There's a really good organisation called Menopause Care Limited.
Menopause Care Limited.
Yeah, so that's a really good website.
I'll drop the web address in the for any.
Yeah, it's just menopausecare.co.uk.
Right. Okay, great.
So that's a good website. I think the other one is, I can't think of the doctor's name. Like you were saying, there's a lady's eye doctor in Bradford. Bear with me, I'm going to Google it.
Real time.
Yeah, real time. Because I went to see her myself, because I was in Oxfordshire. Right, so this is it's quite famous. It's been on TV with Lavina McCall and programs Lavina McCall did. So it's Dr. Newton.
Yes, I can't remember what's her first name.
I can't remember her.
No, I can't remember her first name.
Louise.
Louise, that's it. Yeah, I think she's doing a tour at the minute, actually, talking about a book that she's saying.
Yeah. She starts with herself and everybody else. About 40 GPs. They're all FGP.
Yeah.
Louise Neeson's website is also very informative. You've got lots of great leaflets you can download and things. So, they're probably good sources of education.
Brilliant. Thank you. And then very, very, very finally, if anybody out there is having their own business, they're not maybe ready to have an in-house HR team and they're looking externally, how could people get in touch with you to discuss that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a website, which is the www.merakihr.com.
Yeah.
Or you can email me, which is emma@merakihr.com.
Okay, great. I'll put this in the links as well, so that information will be there. Thank you so much, Emma. That's great. There's lots of great information and things that people can start to take away from that. So thanks so much for your time today.
No, it's lovely to talk to Karen. Thanks very much.
Yep, great stuff. Thanks so much, Emma.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
That brings us to the end of today's episode of Clueless in the Pause. It's been wonderful having Emma share her HR expertise with us. To recap her key tips for navigating menopause in the workplace: 1. Reach out to a trusted friend or colleague. 2. Don't suffer in silence. And 3. Think carefully about what workplace adjustments would help you succeed. As we heard in our conversation today, even I had my own brain fog moment forgetting about the survey. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. We laugh, we move on. It's a powerful reminder that with half the workforce experiencing menopause at some point in their life, there's no need to hide or feel isolated. Remember, staying silent only feeds anxiety. If you feel able to speak up about your experiences, do. There's strength in sharing our stories and seeking support. If you have any questions about today's episode, please get in touch. We'll be answering your questions in a special Q&A at the end of the series.